y'all, it's really TT. I just want to tell y'all, I came across this camera so many times to try to record and talk about my experience, and I wasn't able to do it, not till today. I'm actually waiting on my appointment to start, and today's the day that I'm just going to talk about my experience and what I went through. And y'all pray for Texas. It has been an experience. I pray that I will never ever experience this ever again. I pray that no one will ever experience this again. That's just my my prayer. But I want to also say thank you to each and every one of you that has supported me, reached out to me, called me, DM'd me, resources, just checked on me, made sure that my kids were okay, my family was okay. Thank you so much to everyone that still keeps in contact with me. This was a hard experience to go through. Very traumatic for me. My story may not be the same as other people's. My story in my experience, it's actually probably different. Like, we all have our own triggers. We all have our breaking points. As you know, that some of the details that I talked about was on my live, but it was hard for me to go live as well too. But I don't wish this on anybody. I just don't. We lost people last week due to not having any heat because they were cold. It's just so sad because we have children, we have elderly that we need to take care of. Y'all, this is why it's so important to vote. You have to vote, because if you don't, I'm not blaming the weather on the government, but I feel like there should have been certain things that have been taking place, had they actually thought about it and came up with some type of strategy. Going through that experience is y'all can tell I'm lost for words. This is why it took me so long, and it was so hard for me to get in front of the camera. There is so much that I want to say, but I can't tell y'all everything because some of it is, is very painful to talk about. So please make sure y'all continue to pray for people that are in Texas that have been impacted by this. Please make sure y'all pray for those family members that lost loved ones. Also, please keep Boss Lady Denise, Pink Motivation, The Real Lady Tanya, and Boss Life Online in your prayers. They're out here with me as well too, dealing with this. Here goes, y'all. So this all started for me on Valentine's Day. I will never forget this. That day was going pretty cool. The power did shut off earlier that day, but I didn't really think too much of it. I went to wash my hands in my bathroom, and when I turned on the faucet, black stuff came out. And I was like, what is this? So I went to my shower in my tub and turned it on as well too. And same thing happened. So I'm like, okay, this is not good. So I went to my kitchen. There was no, black stuff in that sink. But I went back to my bathroom, and then it was clear. But then I went back to my kitchen, and the water was cloudy. So I'm like, okay, I'll just, I had to look. It was Sunday, wasn't nobody going to come and look at it or nothing. So I'm like, okay, I got water, you know what I mean? And bottle of water. we'll thug it out, you know. So y'all, I'm recording and the power shut off again. And I'm like, what is going on? So I didn't think too much of it or whatever. I'm like, it's gonna come back on. Mind you, my phone was on low percentage. I still had power on my laptop. I was like, I can just charge my phone on my laptop. So, you know, I'm still recording, doing things I need to do. Because y'all know I'm in a challenge with Pink Motivation. Check out the other video. And power goes off and it comes back on. I'm like, this is weird. So I didn't really think too much of it again because I'm thinking it's going to come back on because it came back on. Then it goes completely pitch black. So I'm looking at the electricity's website. There's no updates. There's nothing, you know, in my email. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's going to, you know, come back on later. Then y'all start getting real cold, like real cold. I ended up changing my kids' clothes to something warmer. I had to put on 2 layers of clothes for them because it got real cold. Y'all, the power never came back on. I went and found some candles that I had, and you know, I'm thinking it's gonna come back on in the middle of the, you know, the middle of the night or in the morning. So I put my phone on the charger, you know, because I'm thinking it's gonna come back on. My phone will, you know, be, you know, charged. So I wake up the next morning and still no power. I called my neighbor and she was like, yeah, we've had no power either. So I'm like, what's going on? So I had a little bit of, I didn't call my neighbor. I went to my neighbor's door and knocked on her door. She didn't have no power either. So I went to my laptop and I looked again, you know, on the website of the electricity company. There was nothing there. So I'm trying to look for outages and there was like nothing. I went to Facebook and everybody on there and their mama was like, we have no power. Some people had said they hadn't had power since Friday. Now it's Sunday. At when my power went out. I can't imagine people being without power from Friday. Friday was a day I was out there buying groceries, and literally, I didn't know because there was no alerts or anything. So that was that. So I'm like, okay, we have no power, so I couldn't cook. So we ended up leaving the house to go buy some food, and it was lines out in the street, miles long, to get something to eat. And it was a hot mess. We went to the grocery store to buy whatever we could. I got fruit cups, crackers, tuna, and something else. I tried to get my kids some like regular fruit, but there was like nothing there. I said, here we go, another pandemic. All right, cool. You know, it's going to be back on, you know, maybe 24 hours. But then in the back of my mind, I saw people on Facebook saying that they did not have power since Friday. I'm like, okay, well, it's going to come back on. It's going to come back on. I'm from California. Now, California did, they turned off power last year, I believe for like a day or two. But it was in the middle of the winter. So I'm like, this ain't going to, you know, it's going to come back on. So we looking for stuff. We ended up getting back to the house. My sister ended up buying power banks for the car, and we ended up charging our phones there. We checked in. I have a sister that's an hour and a half away, another sister that's 3 hours away. They lost power too. I have a cousin that's out here as well too. He didn't have no power. So I'm like, oh my God, like this is bigger than what I initially thought. So I reached out to a couple of, I saw a couple other people here on YouTube. They didn't have power either. I'm like, what is going on? So I didn't know nothing about no rotation. Apparently they forgot about us in the rotation because they only rotated us twice that night previously. And it's like pretty much it was pitch black. So the day started getting, later, and it got to 6 degrees. When I tell you it was cold, when I tell you we saw each other's breath as we was talking to each other sitting in the house. And I was like, we gotta get out of here. We can't be in this like this. But it's just like, where was we gonna go? Because the roads were so icy and it was so dark outside. So we went to a family member's house that night. the next day because it was too cold. They had a fireplace, but sadly there was no wood available anywhere. We ended up burning plywood, paper plates. We ended up burning branches off of trees that I went outside to break. But we couldn't get the fireplace stay lit at all. We were having a hard time keeping it lit. My kids are so cold. My daughter told me she was cold. I did my best to keep them warm. I didn't know what to do. I broke off a lot of branches, and because it was saturated with snow, it was not drying quick enough. The fire was going out. I felt like by us putting the branches in there, it was making it go out even faster. We tried to cook whatever we had there in the fireplace, and we couldn't get the fire even, and it burnt the food. It was just a hot mess. Like, I kept looking on social media, every now and then just to, see what was going on. Because apparently the electricity companies, nobody was telling us no ETA. It was nothing there. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to waste my battery cost. So I was getting all my information, from I looked on Twitter, I looked on Facebook, I looked wherever I could. And I was just shocked by how many people was impacted. So I started to get a little scared. I kept in contact with my family to tell them what was going on as much as we could. We tried to save our batteries because at this point it was so cold in the car to where I ended up charging my phone on my sister's car because I have to keep my car on in order to charge it. And the power bank started working because it was too cold and we couldn't keep anything around and keep it warm because we didn't want to create a shortage or a fire. So I ended up dressing my kids in 3 layers of clothes, hoodies, 2 shirts, 3 socks, puff coat, hat. They were still too cold. I could not get them warm for nothing. I got really scared because the fire just wouldn't stay lit. My daughter was telling me constantly she was cold. My son was trembling. When you can't do nothing for your kids, it just makes you feel, I felt so defeated, at that point in time. Yes, I believe in God. Yes, I pray. But when you look on your social media and you see that people are passing away, from something like this, and there really is nothing that you can do. Even talking to my my family, they were asking what can we do. Nobody knew what to do. It's hard staying strong when you're going through it. It's hard thinking positive when you're going through it. But you all have been helping me as well too here on on this platform. But going through it was brutal. It was not something that I would wish on antibody. I would not at all. Going through something like this, it puts a lot of things in perspective, for me, like where I want to live, where I want to raise my children, political views as well, just humanity within itself. Not being able to give your kids, food like they ate. Luckily, they was able to snack, but like to give them a meal because I didn't have the water where we were at. The water started going out, and it was so crazy because I did not know the water out here was contaminated like that, like a wide range at all. I really didn't know. So I ended up posting on TikTok a video saying that where I was currently at, the water was getting low pressure. It was going out. I had it on full blast and it was just going low. So I had put water in a 5-gallon tub, cooler. And 2 people hit me up on TikTok and said, do not drink that water. That water is contaminated. So, but I'm like, the water is clear, I'm like, well, I didn't know, you know what I mean? So I looked up, just start looking at communities on like, like other social media platforms, and it was all talking about the water. And this was like a little bit before all this had happened. Now, the water company didn't tell me that the water is contaminated. They didn't send out no notice. There was no signs nowhere. You know what I mean? And I kind of figured that something was wrong with my water literally the day that this had all happened, because I saw black stuff. And in my mind, I'm just like, we bathed in that water. We washed our hands in that water. You know what I mean? My kids touched that water. We cooked with that water. We washed our clothes with that water. And for me, I'm just like, that's messed up, because nobody said anything about this water being contaminated. Maybe that's just me needing to do a little bit more research. And it's just like, I didn't know what was really credible, because it wasn't coming from the source about the water. But if everybody, of course there's something wrong with my water because it's black, and for me to be in a whole totally different city, in a different community, and for them people to say, hey, this water ain't good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can go on and on about that. I really could, but I'm not. But y'all, it was just so much going through my mind at that time. It was just so much. I was chilly, cold to my bone. I couldn't get no relief. I couldn't feel no warmth. When the fireplace was on, my sister, she was like, just sit by it. And I could, it's like I would get warm a little bit, but I would never get a release from just being warm. So, and I just, thinking about my kids, I'm just like, what can I do to keep them warm? Like, and then everybody's going through the same thing. What are we supposed to do? It was people out there in their cars, microwaving dinners in their car. They had, the converters, and they plugged in the car, with the microwave so they can cook for the kids. Some people was using air fryers. And I'm just like, this is crazy. The more I looked on social media, the more thankful I became, even though it was very hard for me. Y'all, like I told you, I don't wish this on nobody. I just don't wish this on anybody. And I actually feel a little bit better than I'm talking about it, because I kept a lot of it in, for so long. Literally, it's one thing that I have water. Okay, I can go buy some water in the store if it's available. Not having power. Okay, well, not having power, it's not going to be dark all the time. It's the morning going to come. Okay, but to not have any heat, no form of fashion. When you got a fireplace, we don't have the resources to keep the fire burning. And then to be able to, keep your children warm. I was feeling defeated. I held on as much to my emotions as possible, because I didn't want them to see me break down. My daughter, she has a good sense of someone's feelings. She really does. And then just seeing, my son, just being cold and just shivering, and don't nobody want to put their kids through that. Don't nobody themselves alone want to go through any of that. And that's why, my parents always instilled in me to be careful with how you treat people. This is why my parents always made us do community work. This is why my parents always had us giving back, because you can be one check away from being in their boat. You see a lot of these people out here, walking up and down these streets. They homeless, but a lot of them are like vets and stuff like that. And, a lot of them sacrifice their lives for this country, but they ain't got nobody to turn to. You know what I mean? That's another story. But that's just an example to really be careful with how you treat people. You know what I mean? And just to go through this, it was, oh Jesus, it was bad. I can't imagine. I don't want to imagine being out there homeless, going through something like this. I can't imagine. I couldn't imagine, sleeping in my car, trying to weather the storm and try to get through it. And I'm grateful and thankful that I did not have to go to that extreme. I felt like I was at my extreme because this is something different for me. I was out of my element. We all have our own breaking points. But for me, I was like, oh no, there's a lot of things that I need to reconsider because of the situation at hand. Like, don't get it messed up. This can happen anywhere. It really can. It can happen anywhere. If there is a major shift, it can happen anywhere. But to literally go through this and to see the outcome, it was just. And you're trying to get through it to the next day. You're trying to get, like me, I thought positive thoughts. I thought about scriptures. I kept in contact with my family. I sung. Y'all know I love to sing. Y'all, I do. I love to sing. And guess what, y'all? Y'all want to know something? Y'all ready for this? Literally, we found a place that had food. It was a pizza place. They was only open for like 3 hours. My sister went and got it, and she came back, and she was like, I know you don't eat meat, but this is what I got. And I said, you know what? At this point, I have no choice because I hadn't eaten. And y'all ate meat. Y'all know I haven't eaten meat since May of last year because I had no choice. You know what I mean? It's not my choice to diet, but that was just a highlight for y'all. But just trying to just stay positive, trying to get your mind right, you know what I mean, trying to make sure that you're good on, just trying to make sure my responses and my reactions to how things are going wasn't scaring or upsetting my children, just trying to not lose my mind in the whole situation. It was really, really scary. Closer to the end of the week, my friend was able to get in contact with me, and y'all, she had power. Her power never went out. She never, ever, 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 ever lost power. She ended up coming to get us, and I was so grateful because literally right before she called, I felt like I was breaking down internally. I felt like I was just me holding on. It was just so hard. Like I was losing my grasp and holding on to just, I felt hopeless. She came and got us, and I was so thankful because I was rejoicing. I was saying, Lord, thank you for allowing her, to get in contact with me. Thank you, for her allowing her to come help us out. She had power. She had heat. She had bottled water, like everything. I'm just so grateful. As y'all know, we got stuck in the snow. Shout out to the gentleman that helped us in the snow because God sent them as well too. Now, when that whole situation happened, we did not have to stress at all. Literally, God put all those men there. They did all the hard manual work. They was out there hammering the street to break up the ice. They was out there hammering the street with shovels, trying to get the car to get some traction. They was doing that. I didn't have to do nothing. But then when they found out that my kids were in the car, they went even harder on the pavements to just get some, breaking on the ice so that we can get the car. And so shout out to all the men, and and shout out to y'all. Like I say, even, doing my premiere, y'all was in there and telling me not to worry. Y'all got my premiere. Y'all got my back. Y'all riding for me. I appreciate y'all so much. Like, just looking at all these blessings that came my way. Yes, going through that was hard. And like I said, I am entitled to feel how I feel because I went through this. You know what I mean? I went through this. And I will never forget this. But what I'm also grateful for, I'm grateful that God had placed people, in my life. He, put people in my life that, was able to, you know, help me out, or provide like a resource or give me some insight on what to do. Thank you to everybody that was sending me ways on how to keep warm. Yeah. So we were at my friend's house for a couple of days, and thank you, girl, for helping me out. Thank you so much for looking after my children. We did go to the store in her area, and there was really pretty much really nothing there. I was able to go home a couple of days later, and as y'all know, I was trying to update y'all as much as I could. And when I got home, I literally, I felt like I was able to breathe. I was able to inhale and exhale because my power was back on, my heat was back on. My children had a different, they were smiling and laughing through it all, but they had a different type of happiness when we got home because they were familiar. They were comfortable. Yeah. Yeah. So when we get home, I had to clean out my refrigerator. I threw away all of the food, and I had to get ice to flush the toilet, ice to wash her hands, because the water was off still for some time, because they ended up, I guess pipes had bursted, and I was told beforehand that there may be water damage. And thank you, Jesus, there was no water damage in my home. I'm just so happy. I was so grateful. Like, seriously grateful. Like, very, very grateful. When I got home, I don't know. I was in a different type of zone. I have a lot to think about. As I told y'all, I got in front of this camera so many times to talk about this, and for the life of me, I just could not. I don't know. I couldn't talk about it. It was too painful to talk about it. And just even seeing from people, on this platform, breaking down, crying, and I had my moment too. But talking about it actually is helping me because, I had to acknowledge that it happened, which I am right now. It happened. I'm accepting it, because at first, for a while, I just kept saying, this is not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening. I'm accepting it. And the next step is working through it. Now, our water is still, contaminated. Can't use it. There's a severe water shortage out here. We went to the grocery store to try to get, some groceries. I was able to get like a little bit, but there was 2 big trucks that had came to the grocery store, and they were pulling the pallets out. And one of the workers was opening boxes, and they were like, we can't put this food out because it's expired. The trucks were delayed from coming because the roads were so bad. So I went to literally 3 grocery stores to find something. Like, I was even saying, okay, well, maybe this is time for me to learn how to make bread, or something. I was just thinking like I could, make, do something, for my children. Literally everything I was thinking, apparently everybody else did too, because they was looking for the same thing. There was nothing on the shelves at all. When I say nothing. They had a 2 water limit per person. And then also for you independent store owners that were price gouging water, shame on y'all. Y'all selling to the highest bidder. Leave that alone. But y'all can imagine. Yeah. But guess what, y'all? I'm getting through this. I really am getting through this. I'm just so thankful that God has allowed me to get through this. I am trying to recover mentally and emotionally from everything that took place. I appreciate my support system because this is what kept me going. And my babies as well too. Y'all, I had to fight to make sure that they were good. Cause I'm all they got, you know. I'm really all that they have, and I love them so much. But I feel the love from y'all. I feel the support from y'all as well too. There are still a lot of folks that are without, and as y'all know, FEMA came out here. I was just so happy when the linemen and the engineers came out, because for me, that's what also gave me a sense of hope as well too. When they came out, I was talking to God so much. I feel like he was like, "Girl, if you don't stop calling my name," a little bit. But to be real with you all, I just feel like for me, this is just an eye-opening experience on a lot of things. And I feel, especially for us content creators, we have the pleasure and opportunity to use our voice to talk about things that are going on. Now, we are content creators for different things, but I'm just looking to really, get back on my platform, to continue to do me, continue to support those, continue to do my uploads, my challenges. I feel like I'm getting back into my routine. It took me a minute to get back to this point. And, yeah, y'all, this is something else. I know other people had so many questions, like even in my DM, a lot of people were asking me questions, and I didn't have the answers because I just didn't know. So for y'all that felt as if I wasn't able to answer the question, or for y'all that felt as if, I wasn't answering it correctly, I don't know everything that's going on out here. I really don't know. And like I said, a lot of the information that I found out was solely through social media. It wasn't on, the other platforms that, I thought I may have found. A lot of it is hearsay. So I'm going to leave that on that. Again, huge shout out to everybody that has, checked me out, looked after me, those that have supported me. And like I said, if y'all are still out here in Texas and, you feel like you don't have anybody, make sure you find a support system. You got to. This is the only way that we were getting through this, was through a support system. This is the only way that we got through this. Now, y'all, thank y'all so much for listening to my story. I will see y'all later. I appreciate each and every one of you all. I will see y'all soon. Bye.